Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Lyons Township High School's 11th Annual Veterans Day program, where we honor the many sacrifices made by our wonderful men and women in uniform. At this time, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Student Council President James King.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, my name is Brian Waterman, and I'm honored to serve as the principal at Lyons Township High School. Welcome to our annual, and for the first time virtual, Veterans Day recognition ceremony. Our theme for this year's virtual event is celebrating our veterans at home and abroad. Veterans Day always provides a tremendous opportunity for us to pause and reflect on the sacrifices made by our veterans. The men and women who have served and are serving in our military are the ultimate examples of sacrifice, whether when serving in our military or when returning to civilian life and leading in their communities. The privileges we enjoy and the freedoms we value are a result of the courage demonstrated by our servicemen and servicewomen. It is our intent that this video provide a small token of appreciation for all who have served, as well as those who are currently serving in our military. It is now my pleasure to introduce the LT speech team, who have prepared a special presentation on the history of Veterans Day.
Hi, I'm Gabe Lazarski.
And I'm Georgiana Giannakopoulos.
And today we're going to share with you the history of Veterans Day.
In 1921, an unknown American soldier killed during World War I was buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Similar ceremonies occurred earlier in England and France, as an unknown soldier was buried in each nation's place of highest honor.
These memorial gestures all took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrated ending of World War I hostilities. At 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the day became known as Armistice Day.
In recognition of the peace that was preserved equally by veterans of World War I and II and the Korean conflict, Congress was asked to make this day an occasion that honored those who had served America in all wars. In 1954, President Eisenhower signed a bill proclaiming November 11th as Veterans Day. In his original proclamation of the bill, President Eisenhower declared,
"Now, therefore I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, President of the United States of America, do hereby call upon all citizens to observe November 11th, 1954 as Veterans Day. On that day, let us solemnly remember the sacrifices of all those who fought so valiantly, on the seas, on foreign shores, and in the air, for the freedom of our country. And let us reconsecrate ourselves to the task of promoting an enduring and lasting peace, so that their efforts shall not have been in vain."
In 1958, two more unidentified American war dead were brought from overseas and placed in Arlington National Cemetery, one having been killed in World War II and the other during the Korean conflict. In 1984, an unknown serviceman from the Vietnam War was placed alongside the others to honor these men and all Americans who gave their lives in the wars.
Memorial recognitions have had a long history at Lyons Township High School. While Veterans Day didn't exist, history shows that there were annual assemblies as far back as the 1890s, with the Civil War veterans of the triumphant Northern armies speaking in honor of Memorial Day.
In the 1920s and the 1930s, LT had a solemn ritual to remember the war. At the 11th hour of the 11th day, the 1889 bell was rung. Everyone stopped what they were doing and faced the east, where the war was fought, and where so many had died. Sometimes there was just a moment of silence until the bell was rung again. At other times, students, musicians played taps from the bell tower.
In 1921, LT's Gold Star mothers planted 14 purple leaf maple trees and installed a natural boulder along Brainerd Avenue. The boulder's bronze plaque inscribed, "The 14 trees planted in this parkway are living memorials of those men in LaGrange who died in the military service of their country during the World War. May their sacrifice inspire us to live as nobly as they died."
The trees were planted to commemorate Robert C. Klein, Myron E. Curry, August C. Dolger, Fabian Hansen, Archie Lake, D. Fred Orange, Harry R. Patter, William S. Smith, Frank T. Simon, Paul Seclair, Lawrence E. Vilas, and Charles Waterbury. Today, we honor them, as well as all of those who have served our country in military conflicts throughout the years.
Every year at 11 a.m. on November 11th, a combined color guard representing all branches of the military executes Present Arms at the Tomb of the Unknowns. The nation's tribute to its war heroes is symbolized by laying the presidential wreath. The bugler plays taps.
Every year, the President of the United States urges all Americans to honor all of our veterans with appropriate public ceremonies. We are grateful to welcome those veterans who are watching our 11th Annual Veterans Day program. Thank you for all that you have done for our country.
Thank you, Georgiana and Gabe. Jim Zwitt is a Vietnam veteran and longtime resident of LaGrange Park. His interview in the Jim Zwitt story was shot and submitted to the Library of Congress for the Veterans History Project. The majority of the film footage you see in the documentary was actually Mr. Zwitt's footage, which he shot on an 8mm film camera that he brought with him to Vietnam. The documentary was an award winner at the Chicagoland High School Video Festival, and it won recognition at the Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Arts and Sciences. The documentary is on YouTube and has over 22,000 views. Mr. Zwitt has been a participant in the Honor Flight program, and he was a major contributor to and an organizer for the Veterans Memorial at Memorial Park in LaGrange Park. He has hosted numerous reunions of his surviving Vietnam veteran comrades. He has been a keynote speaker at numerous veterans events and Memorial Day celebrations across the nation, and he has graciously volunteered to tell his story at American history classes at Lyons Township High School and other schools.
In April of 1971, Alpha Company of our platoon was sent in on a combat assault. One of the first guys on the LZ was killed instantly by a barrage of fire. The helicopter pilot had a choice to make whether he was going to touch down to pick up the body or leave the LZ and save the rest of the guys on the helicopter, which is what his choice was. So they left the GI out on the LZ, and our motto is you never leave a man behind. Well, they sent 78 of us the next day in on a mission to retrieve this body. We were told there was 100 to 200 enemy on this ridgeline. We later found out through confidential reports and stuff, declassified, that there was 3 battalions occupying this entire region, which is 1,500. And they sent us in to retrieve the body on an adjoining ridgeline. It took us 2 days to work our way to our objective. As we worked our way to our objective, I just found out recently that, and I have documentation, that there was intelligence reports that they watched us land. They followed us for 2 days, and our command knew this. They had intelligence reports that these guys watched us land. They knew exactly where they followed us. We were leaving. So what they did is they told us, leave a stay behind ambush. What a stay behind ambush is if you think you're being followed, like most of the company will proceed normally, and maybe 6 or 7 guys will lag back, okay? Well, what happens is when we were moving, we'd stop and we'd hear like somebody in the distance, so we'd hear rustling and like, oh God. So we did a stay behind ambush, and they witnessed a load of NVA soldiers just swarming around behind us. You know, they go back and tell them, and we just were being followed. Lieutenant McKenzie was our only black lieutenant in our company, and this guy was the best. He was the goods. So everybody loved him because he was not a lieutenant that would put anyone in harm's way without standing next to him, right behind him. He wouldn't say like, you know, go in that tunnel and tell me what you find. He'll say, you 3 follow me. And with a lieutenant like that, with a guy with a boss like that, a commander, platoon leader, you go to the wall for the guy. So the LT knew how dangerous this mission was, yet he volunteered to take this reconnaissance squad. Well, as they went down this trail, unbeknownst to them, they went beyond the enemy's first set of bunkers. The enemy was sitting there. We were literally almost sitting on top of them that night as we made our night defensive position. Well, as Lieutenant McKenzie and this guy Jerry Stearns passed their first line of defense, their first bunkers, and they got our 2 guys inside their perimeter, all hell broke loose. I mean, they closed the door, let's say, and the gunfire, grenades, rockets. I mean, it was, we call it in Vietnam a mad minute. A mad minute is when you engage the enemy and there is constant fire. You go from total silence to the loudest thing you can imagine in your life. Explosions, gunfire and everything. And you know, you're not afraid at that moment. You are not afraid at the moment when you engage. You're just engaged because that's what you're trained to do. This goes on, you think it goes on for 20 minutes, it goes on for the 30, 40, 50 seconds. Then it stops. They stop firing, we stop firing. The chess game. Well, that's what happened. Everything was quiet. Well, that's when your heart, fear, excitement, you don't know what to do. Well, we knew one thing. We knew that there was a few of the guys able to get back when all the firing started. Well, the Lieutenant McKenzie was, like I said, we knew where he was. And during this silence, during the quiet, we could hear Lieutenant McKenzie screaming for a medic. I'm hit, I need a medic. Well, there's not a lot of things, that you're not going to do for this guy. So I decided, now I'm in the 3rd platoon, and some of my guys don't know why the hell I was up there, but things just happened. I mean, stuff happened. This was the 2nd platoon that was leading our force that evening, and how the hell I got up there, I don't know. I mean, I just got up to the front, and I heard him screaming, and I said, I'm going. I got the lieutenant, I threw him over my shoulder, and I started heading back to the rest of our guys. Well, I probably got maybe 30, 40 yards, towards these guys, and there was a loud explosion to my right. We were so close to the explosion that the concussion threw me and the lieutenant, who I was carrying over my shoulder, into the brush. He had gurgled a couple times. Our bodies got entangled and our faces were like this far apart. He gurgled a few times and died. I had a severe chest wound from all the shrapnel. I'm in the middle of what they call the kill zone. That's what they described it in the after action reports. There was a kill zone that they called, it's what I got caught up in. So I'm out here in this kill zone, and the enemy stops firing, we stop firing. Well, I'm in the middle of nowhere. And thank God I can't get up. I'm yelling for a medic. I'm saying, man, I'm hit, I need a medic. They knew where the hell I was at. They knew I was off the beaten path or close to the trail. So a few minutes later, Sergeant Charles Crone come crawling up, and he was a big old country boy, and he come up and he had brought some bandages with him. He was looking at me and he saw the big hole in my side, and he was trying to roll me around and wrap my chest up. And as he's doing this, he got shot in the stomach, and he just let out a groan, and he just said, I'm going to try to send somebody back for you, 3 or 4 guys grabbed me and threw me over, took Grummet over, and they dragged me to the middle of our perimeter, and leaned me against a tree, and they gave me an M16, and the medic gave me 2 shots of morphine, and they said, if we get overrun, you got this. As each medevac chopper came out, there was no way they could land. It was dark. They couldn't drop a basket down. They could not land because the basket would have got tangled in the triple canopy jungle. They dropped this jungle penetrator, which is a wire cable with a ball on the bottom, and they drop it all the way down to the ground. It has 3 spring-loaded 2-inch metal slats that fold down. You put your butt between them. They take about a 2-inch belt with 2 clips on it, and they unclip one. They put it behind your back, underneath your arms, and then clip it to this wire. So the guys decided, if they're going to save my butt, we got to take off now. I'm not a mathematician, but when you have something hanging down and something starts flying, this thing on the bottom is going to swing through. And when I was swinging through, I was kissing every tree that was in front of me as I was trying to, they were trying to get me out of the tree line. Finally, we were able to get enough in the air where they got me out of the tree line, and then they pulled the cable up all the way and got me into the helicopter. The after action report that I have documented that was declassified said on the Battalion Journal, it said that I was injured at 6:48 p.m. and I was medevac late that night, and at like 23:55 hours, the final entry on the log said Specialist 4th Class James Witt was taken to the 85th evac with fragment wounds to the chest. Doctors do not believe he will live. On the 15th. I lived the 15th, I lived the 16th, I lived into the 17th. Well, now the government says to itself, oh my God, I better notify his parents. And I spent close to 20 months recovering from all of my injuries. I was 195 pounds at the time I was wounded. When I came stateside, April 15th, 195, June 15th, 110. It was a long hospitalization, but I survived. Can't say the same for 8 of my friends, but I think about them all the time. But I was blessed. I was blessed to be here.
As a salute to America's finest, we will now play a medley of music comprising the official songs of our military branches in the following order: Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, and Air Force.
It is now my honor to introduce Zoe Kales, who will perform our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red candles bursting in air gave proof through the night that
Thank you so much to Zoe for a wonderful rendition of the national anthem. Today's Veterans Day program would not have been possible without the efforts of so many. I ask that you please join me in thanking the following people for their efforts in creating this video: Bill Allen, Morgan Kearney, Bella Tharp, Georgiana Giancopoulos, Gabe Lazarski, Jacob Egert, Zoe Kales, James King, Sarah Poles, Mark Dahl, Candace Fay, Peter Geddes, John Music, Patrick Page, and many, many more here at LT. The Veterans Day program at LT is a long and unique tradition. In lieu of hosting our traditional Veterans Day assemblies, we are proud to offer this video tribute to our veterans. We believe this is important to pause and reflect on our freedoms and to acknowledge the individuals who make it possible for us to be proud Americans. This happens because of the sacrifice of the men and women that serve in our military. To our veterans watching, it's been a privilege to share this video tribute with you, and we thank you for allowing us to honor your service to our nation. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day.